Oh, 1 second. Hi, Michelle. Welcome back.
Hi, Rabbi. Thank you so much. Nice to see you, the Rabbi.
Hi, Rabbi Czapnik.
Oh, all the way from Vegas. Jeez.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you as well. Hold on. We're finishing the other his father. But Esav and Yitzchak, the relationship. One is his father didn't know. He was very good to his father, and he used to take care of him, showed a lot of respect. But the other thing is that other opinions talk about that Yitzchak saw Esav's potential. That if Esav, who was a man of the world, a hunter and out in the world, and if he could elevate that to spirituality, then he'll be on a higher level than Yaakov. Yaakov was stayed in the tent and studied, very nice. But if he could master spirituality even while he's in the world, that is great. That's something that Yitzchak would appreciate. And Esav had that potential, but unfortunately he didn't use it. He wanted the here and now. He wanted, eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow you don't know what's going to happen. That was Esav. So it was a very different worldview. And Esav was not a good guy, as we're going to see a little bit here. All right. Let's talk about the Parsha a little bit. This is Parshat Vayetzi. You have the handouts on the Stone Edition article Chumash, is page 144 through 169, chapter 28, verse 10, verse through 32, verse 3, 148 verses in the Parsha. A lot of interesting stuff here. No commandments. All right. So, now what happened was, this, what you think righteous Esav, sends his son to wait in one place and sends himself to wait in another place to see where Yaakov is coming, so you should kill him.
But he forgives him at that.
He forgives who? Who forgives who?
Well, Esau, when Yaakov comes back.
What's it? You're jumping ahead. You're doing spoilers. We're not up to that yet. Let's get up to where we're up to. Okay. He doesn't. He doesn't forgive him. It's not so simple, but we'll get to that part, God willing, in Mitzvah Hashem. All right. So so Yaakov is traveling, and Eliphaz meets him and tells him, "My father says I should kill you." So Yaakov says, "What are you going to gain by killing me? Let me give you everything I have, and I'll be like a poor person. They'll be like I'm not alive, and you'll get my wealth, and that's it. Let me live." And Eliphaz bought into it enough to be able to say, "Okay, fine, that's what we'll do." And Yaakov gave him everything he has, and Yaakov just had his walking stick. That was it. And the parsha begins with the words Vayetzi Yaakov, and Yaakov went out Vayelech Harana, and he went to Haran. So the commentaries ask, why does it say Vayetzi Yaakov? He went out from Beersheba and go to Haran. Let him just say he went to Haran. We know he was in Beersheba, so it's obvious that if he went there, he's not here. And no word in the Torah is extra, so it's there for a reason. So Rashi's famous commentary is that when a tzaddik, a righteous person, leaves a place, it has an impact. It has an impact. The concept of environment is very important. There's a edgy, modern, I don't know what should I call it, a not a museum, but it's a gallery down the block. And it's so interesting, just around that whole gallery, there's graffiti on the floor, there's signs for the music of one band is Apocalypse, the other one is Zombieland. It's just like, just from this little shop, it brings out a certain aura. And there's many synagogues in the neighborhoods, and they have signs for lectures and rabbis that are coming to visit, or how to help a kid who's learning how to read, whatever. Just there's a difference. So there's an environmental aspect of Judaism that's important to create an environment. I always use the example of there's a family I know that was very close to us who went to visit them and they had a picture of the Beatles on the wall. And I told them, you have kids, take it down. He says, no, guys. I said, I don't care. I'll tell you in a second. I said, that's not who you want the kids to look up to. You want the kids to look up to great rabbis. Get pictures of some great rabbis. That's who you think is someone to emulate. That's what's important. And they listen. And that's an important idea that we create the environment. So that's what Rashi says. When the tzaddik leaves, Vayetzi Yaakov Be'ersheva, when he left Be'ersheva, it had an impact because the righteous person wasn't there anymore. And then he went to Haran. There's another interpretation that when a person goes from one place to the other, there's two reasons to go. You want to get from point A to point B, either because you want to leave A or because you want to go to B. Now, we learned last week that why did Yaakov leave? For two reasons. His mother told him to get out of town because Esav is gunning for you. His father told him to get out of town to find a mate. So Vayetzi Yaakov Be'ersheva, he left Be'ersheva to listen to his mother. Vayelech Haran, went to Haran to find a mate. So it was two reasons. That's the Vilna Gaon says that answer. There's also another practical answer, which things didn't happen at the same time. Yaakov actually stopped off to study Torah in the study hall of Shem and Aver to prepare himself for going into exile and dealing with the Lavans of the world and the tricksters in the world, the Asas of the world. So he studied Torah for a while and didn't sleep in a bed all those years. So Yaakov is traveling and he decides to stop off at Mount Moriah. What's Mount Moriah? That's the future place of where the temple would be. And that's also the place where Avraham brought Yitzchak up as where he brought him up as an offering. So it's a holy place, and he decided to stop there to pray. And God made it should be night quickly, so now he has to sleep there. So he took 12 stones and put it by his head to lay down. This is the first time he's actually laying down in a quasi-bed. And what ends up happening is he has a dream. He has a dream that there's a ladder going up to heaven, and the angels are going up and going down. And the simple understanding is the angels of Israel are leaving, and the angels of out of Israel are coming down. But the oral tradition tells us there was actually the angels are also going up and down, the angels of the exiles that Yaakov's descendants would have to deal with. There are actually four exiles that the Jewish people have gone through and it's still in the middle of. There's the exile of there's Yavan, that Greek, there's Babylon, there's Persia, and then there's Edom. Edom is the last exile that we're in now, the exile of Rome, which is a Western civilization. So there are four exiles, and the angels went up how many years they would be ruling. And when they got up to that, they fell down. The last one, which is the longest exile, the angels kept on going, and Yaakov said to Hashem, God, how long is this exile going to last? Is it ever going to end? He says, don't worry, it's going to be long, but it will end. So the Babylonian exile is they destroyed the temple, the first temple. Persia, that's the story of Esther Mordechai, of Purim. Yavan, Greece, that's the story of Hanukkah, and Edom, the western one, that's the one that's the one that destroyed the Roman exile. That's the west, that's the destruction of the second temple, and that's the exile that we're in now. And the idea is that Hashem promises him that this place will be holy, and this land will belong to his descendants, referring to the land of Israel, that will belong to him. So it's prophecy for the future. And Yaakov wakes up and he realizes this is a holy place. God revealed himself to me at this spot. And he says an interesting thing. Had I known that this is such a holy spot, I would not have slept. Why would he not have slept? What? He would have prayed, he would have done something else, right? So I don't understand. If you didn't sleep, you wouldn't have gotten the vision of God. Avraham Czapnik would have said, I would have gone to sleep earlier. I want to get the vision. But this is an important idea, which we discussed in the past, the idea of understanding that not having the spiritual experience is not as having the spiritual experience is not as important as doing the right thing. This is a holy place. I should study here. I should pray here. What about the dream? God will figure out another one. He'll send me an email. He'll reveal himself to me in a different way. Having a spiritual experience and feeling it is great, but that's not the goal. So the goal is doing the right thing, and that's what he said. Now, what's interesting is that he took the stone and he made a promise. And our sages tell us that the 12 stones became one stone. What do the 12 stones represent? The 12 tribes. 12 tribes. So they will become one. They'll become one. And he says he will tithe. And he has. And by the way, that's what I mentioned before, that the relationship is more important than feeling the relationship, is an important idea in our personal relationships as well. An example would be when we were expecting babies, my wife got very, very nauseous, very sick, and she would throw up a lot. And it was not fun. And did I enjoy changing the buckets? No. But you do it anyway, because that's the right thing to do. Because the relationship is bigger than right now. Am I feeling really good now? No, I'm not. I have to change the bucket. But the idea is not to worry about how you're feeling in the relationship, but what's the right thing to do in the relationship. That's far more important than the moment-to-moment feeling of how I'm feeling in the relationship. So in relationships, this is a very important idea as well, to realize that the relationship has to be bigger than the feeling on the moment. Because it's normal to have ups and downs and feelings in the moments for whatever reason. But so that's an important example in our relationships as well, not only in our relationship with God, but as well. All right. He goes to Haran and he sees that it's still not at the end of the day, and the shepherds are there and they're hanging around. You know, the old water cooler at work, you know, people staying at the water cooler. So here they're staying at the well, and he talks to them a little bit and he's friendly to them. And then he says, my brothers, he rebukes them a little bit. Why are you hanging out there? Shouldn't the animals be grazing? So he's coming across caring in a caring way. He's telling them, my brother, but he's calling them on what he thinks they're doing wrong. So before we go on, what their answer is, a beautiful example of this, there was the Kapishitzer Rebbe, a great Hasidic master, who was walking on the street on Shabbos, and he saw some people smoking on Shabbos, and there's a prohibition of smoking on Shabbos, lighting a fire. And he went over to them and said, you know it's Shabbos, you shouldn't be smoking. So, not on Shabbos, no. That's, you're talking about holiday, that's a different story. But in any event, so they said to him, Rabbi, mind your own business. No, they said to the rabbi, mind your own business. So he said, if I was walking by and you had a knife wound and I came to help you, would you also tell me, mind your own business? What difference does it make if your body is bleeding or your soul is bleeding? Have a good Shabbos. And he walked away. And so what he was saying to them was how much care he had for them. That's why he's saying it, not out of anger, not out of being superior, but try to help them, that it's not good for their soul. And when they heard that, the next week they waited, Rabbi, we're not smoking on Shabbos. You know, they they were moved by his sensitivity. So they explained to him the reason why we're here early is because there's a rock on the well. There's a rock on the well to protect it and not to let anybody steal from it. So we have to gather together to push it off. It's very heavy. We have to push it off together. That's why we're here earlier, to wait till everybody to come so we can push it off so we could water the animals. And guess who shows up? Rachel shows up. Rachel is his first cousin because his mother is Rivka, and Rachel's father is Lavan, which is brother and sister of so his cousin shows up, and Hashem planned it. The shidduch, the match, should happen, and he shows up. And when Yaakov sees her, he himself goes over to the well and by himself, pop, pushes the rock off and helps her with the water, and is very happy to meet her and finds out their family. And Lavan hears that Yaakov is here, and he remembers that when Eliezer came to get his sister Rivka for Yitzchak, that he came with all kinds of gifts, and so he's expecting Yaakov to come with gifts too. Now Yaakov had an interesting reaction to Jacob, yes. So good, lots of nachas from him. In any event, so what happened was Yaakov cries when he sees Rachel. Why does he cry when he sees Rachel? He cries from prophetic vision that he knows that he has no gifts to give her because Eliphaz took all of everything he has, and also has a prophetic vision that he's not going to be buried together with her, which is going to happen later on, as we're going to learn about. In any event, so Lavan comes and greets him and says, "Hey, there's nothing here." The Medrash tells us he hugs him to feel maybe he has something on him, and nothing because he's cleaned out. So Lavan said, "All right, I'll take you in and whatever." And he says, "You'll work for me. Work for me for 7 years, and then I'll give you." And Yaakov says, "I want to marry Rachel, your daughter, the younger daughter." Okay, the younger daughter. Now, what happened was that Lavan had two daughters, Leah and Rachel, or Leah and Rachel, and Yaakov wanted to marry the younger one. Now, interestingly, the Torah tells us that Leah's eyes were red; they were not nice. Why? Because Lavan had two daughters, Leah and Rachel. Leah was the older one, Rachel was the younger one. And Rivka had two sons, Esav and Yaakov. And what did people say? People said the older one, Esav, for Leah, and the younger one, Yaakov, will be for Rachel. And Leah cried and prayed to God because she didn't want to marry Esav. She didn't want to marry the wicked Esav. So the Torah mentions her eyes. What do we care that she had good, not pretty eyes, not pretty eyes? What's the point? The point is that she was very elevated because she was praying that she shouldn't be stuck with Esau. So Yaakov knows that Lavan is a tricker, and he says, "Okay, I want Rachel, your daughter, the younger one." So try to make sure he doesn't trick her, like pick another Rachel or call the older one Rachel. No, and that's what he wants. He worked for 7 years, and sure enough, Esav, Lavan decides to trick him. Remind me at the end, I want to read you a quote from Mark Twain. But in any event, after 7 years, he comes to Lavan and says, "Okay, I worked for 7 years." Interestingly enough, the 7 years went by quickly. Now, why would they go quickly? You would expect the opposite. He worked for 7 years. He's waiting to get married to Rachel. It's a big deal. So why do they go quickly? Because when you have a purpose, you know that Rachel is my designated wife. I'm going to wait. Everything's going to be fine. What Lavan does is he tricks Yaakov, and instead of putting Rachel, he puts Leah. Now, Rachel sees what's going on. Now, Yaakov was concerned that this might happen. So what did he do? He told her some laws that, like some secrets that no one else would know. So this way he could ask her and verify who she is. When Rachel saw that her sister Leah was the one that was being replacing her, she went over and told her, Yaakov's going to ask you these and these things. Tell him this and this and that. So this way, because otherwise she would be being embarrassed in front of everybody. He would say, hey, this is not my wife. And he wanted to spare his sister the embarrassment, which is a very beautiful, beautiful idea. Rachel, who was supposed to be married, tells Leah, who's Lavan, the father's replacing, to do this. Now, it's interestingly enough that there's a Sephardic custom by weddings to go, Leah, 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 right? Do people do that? Yeah. And there are those that say, I don't know if it's true, but those that say that it comes from when Yaakov was about to get married to what he thought was Rachel, that people were saying, Leah, 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 Leah. It's really Leah. I don't know if it's really true, but like I said, there is a Sephardic custom to say it by the wedding, like it's an exciting thing. Familiar with that? No. Yeah, similar. Leah, same idea. So what happens is he switches Leah, and Rachel gives her the gift, and Yaakov wakes up and says, what's going on here? And he goes over to Lavan and says, hey, that's not what we made up. And Rachel and Lavan has all the answers already. He says, nah. And we in our place, the older one gets married first, and that's it. So work for me another 7. We'll wait 7 days, which is the end of what? Anyone know? What's the week? Sheva Brachot, the 7 days of blessing. After the celebration, I'll give you your second wife, Rachel, and you have to work for me for another 7 years. And so Yaakov agrees to the shyster. And what happens is the importance of not embarrassing somebody. The importance of not embarrassing somebody. This is what Rachel did, which is an amazing thing. She gave up her place. She wouldn't know that she was going to get married too, right? In the Torah at that point, it was allowed to have 2 wives, but it still was. But I'll tell you a great, beautiful story with Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. What happened was, in Jerusalem years ago, there was a woman that was engaged to be married to somebody, and the guy chickened out at the wedding. He didn't show up. And you want to wait for the story? You want to know? Should I tell you next week or this week? This week. Okay, we'll tell you this week. And it was a big thing. The woman's going to be terribly embarrassed. So Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, you need to have really big shoulders for this. So before I tell you what happened, I'm going to fast forward. Many years later, a man went over to a couple who had, thank God, many children and very happy and good kids. And he asked, what do you think is the merit that you have such a beautiful family? So the husband turns to the wife and says, should I say the story? So she says, go right ahead. And the story is as follows. It's this story that I'm telling you now. Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld went over to the single guy's table and said, I want to spare the Kala embarrassment. Who's willing to marry her? And I guarantee I'll give you a blessing of children and a happy life together with this woman. Now think about it. Think about it. What? He didn't choose. He asked for a volunteer. 1 second. You must be going to the movies with you. Must be a problem. What happened next? What ended up happening was Now, think about it for a moment. How many of us here, if we were in that circumstance, would be willing to stand up to do that? It's really not easy. But one of the guys said up, I'm willing to do it. And he was brought to the Kala. They schmoozed for a little bit, and they made the weddings. Shouldn't be embarrassed. So this man, many years later, said, that's why we have such a beautiful family and beautiful kids, because we got the blessing from Yosef Chaim Zonnefeld, who wanted to spare my wife the embarrassment of the chassan not showing up. It's a very beautiful story of sparing somebody embarrassment. No, it's a real story. No, it's not. It's not in my latest novel. This is a true. Please go right ahead. Yeah, right.
One of the things is don't put something between two sisters. Don't make them compete for one another. Am I correct on that one?
No, I don't know what you mean.
Have one man have two sisters.
Well, they're not allowed to marry two sisters after the Torah is given. That's true, but this is before the Torah was given.
But if Jacob is knows Torah,
right?
Studies Torah, he should know these. No.
Yes, but it wasn't. First of all, it wasn't relevant. It was out of the land of Israel. It was before the Torah was given, and then they were allowed to do that. That was a different story. The Torah wasn't given yet, so then there's a question about in the land of Israel. It's going to be different if they keep the Torah there more, and that's why she ends up not living. But that's whatever. But the bottom line is the simplest answer is it was before the Torah was given. Okay, so. So what happens is Leah starts having children and Rachel does not. So
wait, excuse me. Did you say that after the Shabbat, Rachel was dead?
Yaakov was marrying Rachel as well. Yeah. He did. He had to work another 7 years, but he didn't have to wait another 7 years. He could. Yeah, I'll show you the verses inside the text. You'll see it. But he did have to work another 7 years, and she started having children. And Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda are born to Leah. Now, they have maidservants, Bilhah and Zilpah, and they decide to give the maidservant so that they know, Leah and Rachel know that Yaakov is going to be the father of the 12 tribes. So every child they have is not just another child, but it's another one of the tribes. So it's a big deal. So they figure we'll give Bilhah and Zilpah the maidservants for her to marry, and those children will be like under us. It'll be like we have them. So they have the children as well.
Two sisters and
see that? Two maids. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. But the advantage is only one mother-in-law, so it wasn't so bad. All right. Interestingly enough, the fourth son is called Yehuda. Why Yehuda? Because he gives thanks to the Almighty. She gives thanks to the Almighty. That's why she's very grateful. And why are we called Yehudim? Based upon the fourth son, Yehuda. Why aren't we called Ruvenim or Shimonim, right? And the answer is because gratitude has to be an important part of who we are. As a matter of fact, gratitude is a key element in our happiness. If we can be grateful for things, then we'll be happier. When we focus on gratitude to the Almighty, and again, the names are very important because it gives us insight about each of why they were chosen this way. And that's why it's wonderful to have a Hebrew name. And if you don't have a Hebrew name, it's something to work on. And I'm happy to try to help you find a nice Hebrew name for you if you want. And so Leah has Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, Yisachar, and Zevulun. And the Mater is done of Tali Gad and Asher. Now, there's only 2 left to have 12 tribes. So Leah was expecting a baby. And now she's concerned that when Rachel is going to conceive, if she has a 7th child, then her sister Rachel is only going to have 1 to have 12. So again, there's Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zevulun, and there's Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. These are the ones that are born already. How many are left for the 12 tribes? 2. So she wants her sister Rachel to have at least as much as the Bilhah and Zilpah. So she prays that the child she has should be a girl. Now, by the way, normally, just to let you know, that doesn't work. Once the child's in the mother's womb, it's already its sex is determined already. But she prays, and Hashem listens to her prayer and changes it, and now she has Dinah. Dinah is her 8th child. She has a girl. And finally,
The 8th child or the 11th child?
well, it's her 8th, and it's the 11th child, but it's not one of the tribes because it's a girl. So finally, Baruch Hashem, Rachel is expecting, and she has a boy, and his name is Yosef.
That's my son's name.
Oh my gosh, very biblical family you have. In any event, you see that. So she has the final child. Now what had happened was Yaakov is very honest in his work, and there's tremendous blessing that comes to Lavan with Yaakov at the helm of taking care of his animals. And Yaakov, by the way, Lavan wants to pay him now. Till now he wasn't paying him. Now he wants to pay him because he really wants Yaakov to hang out longer because he's getting a lot of blessings. So he's told Yaakov, you'll get the spotted ones, I'll get the non-spotted ones. And what ends up happening is whichever one Yaakov is supposed to get, that's the one that there's an abundance of. So Lavan now switches, said, no, I'll get the spotted ones and you get the plain ones. So he switches, and again, Yaakov is getting the abundance, and Lavan is quite frustrated. He's still winning in the game, but in the long term, but he's upset that Yaakov is getting a lot more. Whichever one he picks for Yaakov, that's the one that gets a lot. And Yaakov realizes things are not good. There's a lot of jealousy going on here. Lavan is jealous of him, and Hashem tells God appears to Yaakov and says, "Time to go back." And Yaakov calls Rachel and Leah and says, I see your father it's not the same anymore. He's not happy with me. And they're ready to leave too. They're ready to leave. And he doesn't say anything to Lavan, and he travels with his whole family and his entourage back to the land of Israel. And Lavan's very upset that he left, and he gives chase after him. And Hashem appears to Lavan and says, don't do anything to Yaakov. Let him be. Don't do good or bad. And Lavan is still busy being angry and upset. Now, Rachel, by the way, takes the idols that Lavan had and steals them. He says, you've been seeing Yaakov, a holy man, the whole time, and it hasn't impacted you. And Lavan's upset that the idols are gone. But whoever it is, they come, and Lavan is very arrogant. He says, all of these are mine, it's not yours, what are you doing? And had you left, had I known, I would have made a party for you, But the bottom line is they make a covenant, and Lavan is going to head back, and Yaakov is going to head back to the land of Israel, and he's going to get back to him. And Baruch Hashem, Yaakov's family is almost complete, not yet, but it's almost complete. It's the end of a difficult saga. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, and to be continued about what happens next, we'll have to get to that, God willing, next week. We talked about the exiles of the Jewish people, and Mark Twain, the famous non-Jewish writer, wrote something very powerful. He wrote, on the Jews, he wrote an essay, if the statistics are right, the Jews constitute but 1/4% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous puff of stardust lost in the blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jew ought hardly to be heard of, but he is heard of, has always been heard of. He is prominent in the planet as any other people, and his importance is extravagantly out of proportion for the smallness of his bulk. His contributions to the world list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and abstruse learning are very, very out of proportion for the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in the world in all ages and has done it with his hands behind his back. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it. The Egyptians, the Babylonians, and the Persians rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded, dreamed stuff, and passed away. The Greeks and Romans followed, made a vast noise, and they were gone. Notice by all the exiles that we talked about before, he mentions. Other people have sprung up and held the torch high for a time, but is burnt out, and they are in twilight now and have vanished. The Jew saw them all, survived them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age and weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert but aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jews. All other forces pass but remains. What is the secret of his immortality? Very powerful, very powerful. And the answer, he doesn't give us this answer. The answer, the Torah answer is because God, the Torah, and the Jewish people are one. And once God is eternal and the Torah is eternal, the Jewish people are eternal. So no matter what happens, and we've had, unfortunately, as we know, many catastrophes to the Jewish people. My parents of blessed memory were the sole survivors of their families from the Holocaust. Had no no immediate family that survived, but we're still here. And that's part of the eternity of the Jewish people. And so Mark Twain wrote it very beautifully. So, Yaakov was wondering about when the exiles end. The exiles will end, but we have to hang in there because we are the eternal people connected to God and to his Torah. Okay, any questions? You're welcome.
Talk about all these wells. What was the point of all the wells?
The wells was in last week's Parsha.
No, the wells that they keep on putting wells down.
That was in last week's Parsha. Actually, the wells were on the simplest level. They were jealous of Yitzchak, so they were filling the wells. But on the deeper level, there's a beautiful commentary on it that it talks about the three Beis Hamikdashes. And the first two were stuffed. That represents the first two temples that were destroyed, and the third one that he was able to keep, that represents the third temple. But on the simple,
Talking about the
it's alluding to that. Yes, the temple. But the simple understanding is they were jealous. They were jealous of Yitzchak, so they were filling his wells. So no, it's our wells. It's our wells. He redug them, and they said, "No, get away! It's ours." The Jews will do the work, and then somebody else takes credit for it.
What are the questions?
Yeah, take a look. Yeah, it's simple. It's simple. It's simple. That's a simple part of it. Yes, the Ramban, I think, is the one that I said the commentary. Yes.
But said that. Why does Lavan get to hear from God? Like, how many people actually said?
Yes, because he was warning him to not do anything to Yaakov or his family. So it was not on his merit, but the merit of Yaakov to protect Yaakov and his family. Does it have it again? Well, we had it previously. We had Avimelech. God appeared to Avimelech and said to him, "Don't do anything to Sarah." Yeah. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Yep. Exile means that we're not in the land of Israel. We don't have a temple. We're dispersed among the nations of the world, all over the world, and we're subjugated to all different kinds of not such good things. So when we're in our land and we have a temple and we have ideally a Jewish king, then things are in a better place. The temple is the temple in Jerusalem, where God's presence is permanently there. That was destroyed twice in our history. It's a lot to learn with time. I hope that answered the question a little bit. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Thank you. Thank you. Take care. All the best. Take care, Diane. Bracha, Elisheva, and Michelle. All the best.
Thanks, Rabbi.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.